Welcome to another installment of the Minister's Message. Today I'm not going to ground this in a particular scripture passage, but just generally the idea of us being a people with a story, that we are people of the narrative. So um, hopefully this will be stay theological and not be a rant. So, watching the news this morning, I realized that the narrative we are hearing right now is dominated by numbers. Maybe the news often includes a lot of numbers, but right now it seems very overpowering. We expect to hear lots of numbers for the financial news, perhaps, but now everything seems to be about the numbers. The number of COVID-19 cases, the number of deaths, the number of folks recovering, the billions of dollars being directed to the challenge, the number of cases by province and city, the number of days Parliament should sit, the number of MPs. I mean, it just keeps going. On Sunday, April 19th, we watched the story unfold about the shootings in Nova Scotia, and our hearts are broken by that story. But there were no numbers yesterday. Just the story of a man on a rampage with a gun, and there were many victims. Monday, April 20th, we heard that there were 17 dead, with 16 being victims. And the numbers give us an idea of the scope of the tragedy. But now every mention of the tragedy begins with the numbers that seem to be actually escalating still. The numbers are important to understand, to absorb, to engage with, but the numbers are primarily about management. We share the numbers, but it's an illusion of management and control. Governments, big business, large institutions love data. Even charities love numbers. It gives the illusion of control, of predictability, structure, conformity, planning, understanding, accomplishment. Right now, we look to the numbers to regain a sense of control, a sense of normalcy, a feeling that things are going to be okay, that we're accomplishing something, some accountability. Right now, the dominant narrative of the numbers is that of scarcity, that we don't have enough of anything we need because that is what the numbers tell us. We are a people who understand ourselves and our place in God's creation through story, through narrative, not through numbers. Our central narrative is that of the Eucharist, communion, table fellowship. In our tradition, we tell that same story at least once a month. Many denominations share that story every week, some even daily, followed in frequency by the baptism stories and the birth narratives. We've been retelling that story for 2,000 years, a story that is an echo of the Passover narrative, which is another 700 years old at least. We retell the story of the open table, of Jesus giving of himself. On the night before he died, he enacted this drama, which in itself is a retelling of God's story of abundance, of welcome, of nurture, of service, of giving of oneself, of the breaking and giving and sharing. Narrative has the power to be transformative and to shape a people. We are shaped by that story that we tell over and over and over again, one we never get tired of because it resides deep in our bones. It is the source of our hope. Now, more than ever, I think it is important to tell our story, our narrative about how we are living our faith, how we are navigating this challenge as a people of faith. That narrative does include a few numbers, but because we are grounded in the table fellowship narrative and our bigger faith narrative, our telling of it focuses on the difference our actions can make. Sure, we handed out 80 bowls of soup. That is an important number. But it represents a story of how, out of our experience of God's abundance and grace, we share that abundance and grace with others. It's something we can't control or manage or even calculate. The 80 bowls doesn't give us any indication that One of our deliveries gave a single mom of 2 children one wholesome meal she didn't have to prepare, and the sense that some group of people she didn't even know care about her and her family. It doesn't talk about how many times she said thanks and how grateful she was. But that's our story, and it's our story to tell because the world needs to hear more of these stories. My challenge to all of us is to tell these stories, to share them. We also need to hear them. I want to hear about how you are helping someone, or how you all gather around the parking lot at appropriate 2 meter distances, drinking coffee and sharing the news with each other, or whatever you are doing to make life a little more joyful for someone else. So take a picture, write a paragraph, send it to our office with a few words of explanation. Tell your friends. This isn't a time to be timid. This isn't about humility or blowing our own horn. I need to hear these stories to give me hope and faith. We all do. This is the time to hear about the good news of Jesus Christ and how that good news is alive and well in our midst every day. We're not alone. We live in God's world and we do have each other. Thanks be to God.